Gavin Newsom talks about California. He's like, you know, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. Hey, they're all moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. It's too expensive to leave versus all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. It's too expensive.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8 of them.
The pressure on Gavin Newsom is boiling over, leading to a full-blown meltdown like we've never seen. The once polished golden boy was nearly in tears as Bill Maher, Joe Rogan, and even Mel Gibson tore into him over his disastrous record. And while part of me almost feels bad for California's tearful governor, let's not forget the chaos he's brought on his own people. So yes, he earned every bit of this heat. If you're into sharp political takedowns, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel.
What's going on in California? It isn't slowing down. The gangs are not slowing down. Newsom did eventually come out and apologize. If you want to go on Twitter, Rob, and just go to the apology video that he came out eventually. This is, I think, 4-5 days later. On day one, I asked him, I said, are you going to come out and do this? Watch how he's finally wanting to have his people be responsible. Go ahead, Rob.
You incite violence. I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
Okay.
That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted.
To California, he flat out told Trump he wouldn't cooperate, and even dared former ICE Director Tom Homan to come arrest him. He strutted around with a tough guy persona, chest out, acting like he was untouchable. So when he did a full 180 and issued a public apology for his actions, it wasn't just surprising, it was a spectacle. If you looked closely, you could see the emotion in his eyes. Here he is just days before that public apology.
Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen.
The same guy who challenged federal authority and shrugged off accountability, like it was beneath him, suddenly caved. Was it guilt, pressure, or just pure political survival mode? Whatever the reason, Newsom's sudden U-turn exposed cracks in his carefully crafted image, and people are starting to notice. The media scrambled to spin it. His supporters were stunned, and critics wasted no time calling out the hypocrisy. One minute he's defiant, the next he's backpedaling. Classic political whiplash. And do you know who started all this? Bill.
See today, the Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you? Well,
I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? it's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is the teacher's job.
F-bomb comment, he's an evil snake motherfucker. I don't know how to describe it. You see what he just did there, and Bill got it right. Somehow it's snitching if the parent finds out. If the teacher says, oh, your kid has been going by other names and changing pronouns and dressing up this way, you don't know about that as the parents. That's the snitch. It's the parent's job to raise the child.
Now, many of you have seen this clip and are wondering, what does this have to do with the current chaos in California? Well, here's the connection. Bill Maher exposed Gavin Newsom's slick, evasive nature when he brought up the controversial California law that allows teachers to withhold information from parents when a student decides to transition. Yes, that bill, passed under Newsom's watch, essentially cuts parents out of one of the most sensitive, life-changing decisions a child can make. Trump tried to challenge it federally, but Newsom stood firm, championing a policy that effectively shifts parental authority to the state. That's where his so-called woke credentials.
I was on KBLA the other day, yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8 of them.
And here's where the cookie really crumbled for Gavin Newsom. That carefully polished image began to crack, and people finally started to see through it. His political ambitions, once hyped as presidential material, quickly began to lose steam. And here's the twist. It wasn't just conservatives sounding the alarm. Even his own base, the progressives who once rallied behind him, started backing away. Why? Because Newsom wasn't just towing the woke line, he was sprinting past it. For many, it was too much. He had gone from being the poster boy of California liberalism to an overreaching figure who seemed more focused on ideological purity than practical leadership. And all of this, exposed, ironically, by Bill Maher. The support that once shielded him began to...
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a f***ing con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors. Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician. Just a stone-cold, narrative-driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and you know that's a human being. With Newsom, you've got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person. I don't think people want that, but they might want it more than they want President.
Exactly. Newsom is sneaky and sly, a political chameleon if there ever was one. You can't pin him down because he's constantly shifting, recalibrating his stance based on who's watching. One minute he's posturing as a tough guy, full of bravado and defiance. The next, he's groveling in the dust, apologizing for the very strength he just flaunted. Today he's marching with ICE protesters, championing open borders and immigrant rights. Tomorrow, he's preaching law and order, cracking down on illegal immigration like he never held the opposite view. It's all smoke and mirrors, pure performance politics, and voters are getting tired of the act. No one really knows what he believes, if he believes anything at all. He's like a political weather vane, spinning in whichever direction the wind of public opinion blows. That kind of inconsistency doesn't...
Gavin Newsom talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. Hey, they're all moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. It's too expensive to leave versus all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. It's too expensive.
Aside from being sly and evasive, Gavin Newsom's handling of California's economy has been nothing short of disastrous. Under his leadership, the state has seen a mass exodus of businesses, and we're not talking rumors. These are real high-profile departures. Companies like Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Charles Schwab, and CBRE have all moved their headquarters out of California. Their reasons? High taxes, stifling, regulations, and an increasingly hostile environment for business. And those are just the heavyweights. Countless small and mid-sized businesses have either shut down or relocated to more business-friendly states like Texas, Florida, and Arizona. The few companies that remain are often stuck, not because California offers opportunity, but because moving would be too costly or risky to their operations. Newsom's policies have stifled innovation, punished success, and made growth nearly impossible. It's not
Like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up.
And then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said,
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
like, how about just keep your house clean?
Can you imagine? The day he left, it went right back. What a disgrace.
Another major issue plaguing California is its growing sanitation crisis. Residents and visitors alike have voiced concern about the overwhelming filth affecting major parts of the state, and yet Governor Gavin Newsom appears to be doing little, if anything, to address it. Even Donald Trump publicly criticized the governor for the deteriorating conditions, calling it a disgrace for a state with so much wealth and global influence. Cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Oakland have become infamous for their dirty streets, littered sidewalks, and a rising homelessness crisis. In San Francisco, entire neighborhoods are struggling with human waste, discarded needles, and overflowing trash becoming part of daily life. Los Angeles faces similar challenges, with encampments crowding public spaces and basic sanitation turning into a serious health risk. These aren't isolated incidents, they're widespread, ongoing problems, and they're getting worse.
Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Residents of California aren't just frustrated with Gavin Newsom, they want him out of office. The discontent cuts across political lines, and it's no longer just about bad policy. It's about failed leadership. Take Mel Gibson, for example. A longtime California resident, Gibson saw his multi-million-dollar home completely destroyed by the wildfires that tore through the Palisades. And what did Newsom do in response? Nothing meaningful, no real emergency plan, no accountability, and no urgency. Instead, land speculators were allowed to swoop in and evaluate scorched properties, raising serious concerns that disaster recovery efforts were being exploited for real estate gain. While families mourned the loss of their homes and livelihoods, Newsom offered little more than hollow platitudes, no action, no urgency, just optics. Californians are sick of it. They're tired of a governor who shows up for the cameras but disappears when real leadership is.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse.
And so Gavin Newsom finally decided to respond to the criticism and get to work. But by then, it was far too late. The damage was already done. The chicken had flown the coop before he even bothered to shut the door, and that's exactly why Greg Gutfeld continues to roast him night after night. We've been talking about California's out-of-control homelessness, rising crime, filthy streets, and collapsing economy for weeks, months even. But Newsom turned a deaf ear. He brushed it off as partisan noise, confident his charm and media spin would carry him through. Now, conveniently, As whispers of a presidential run grow louder, he's suddenly pretending to care. He's rolling out rushed cleanup campaigns, flashing big smiles at press events, and slapping on Band-Aid policies. This isn't leadership, it's damage control. Californians see right through the act, and so do voters across the country. If this is the kind of leadership he plans to bring to the White House, America should be very, very concerned. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.